It's your girl, Miss Moi. Thank you so much for everyone that has been supporting the show. Today I'm sitting here with the queen. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
What name do I use?
Whatever one you want to.
I am Teresa Stewart, a.k.a. Hypnotic, Hattie Mae, the Bougee Bride, the oil lady, the makeup lady, whatever you call me, that's what I answer to.
How did you get so many names?
So many gifts. I got so many gifts. I've done a lot of things over my life, and every time I indulge into something, that's where the name comes from. So when I was doing makeup, I'm the makeup lady. That's before everybody became the MUAs. You know, I was a makeup lady. I was an oil lady. I was Hattie Mae came from when I lost my teeth and I aged. So I developed an older character as a part of a comedic act. The Bougee Bride comes from the accessories, and Hypnotic is my poetry name.
Okay. Now, usually when people say bougie, that's not taken in the best way, but you seem to embrace it.
Yeah, bougie for me is a movement. It's not a fur and diamond. I'm better than you. Bougee is spelled B-O-U-G-E-E, and it means beautiful, outstanding, undeniable, graceful, energizing, and eclectic. And it's really a movement for all women, especially women of color, and primarily women that are over 50. And when we get, I'm over 50, and we get to that age, we start losing family, friends more frequently, or at least it's more noticeable, I should say. We're diagnosed, children are grown, and we start losing that part of us that others depended on that no longer need us, and we lose a lot. And becoming 50 is definitely a milestone. But your age, nor your diagnosis, has the right to steal your fabulous. And that's where Bougee comes from.
Absolutely. So let's go back before we became the Bougee Broad and Hypnotic. Let's talk about your upbringing and just you as a child. What type of kid were you?
I was hard-headed.
Was you? Did your own thing?
I did my own thing. I wasn't hard-headed in terms of, I just wasn't my parents' book kid.
Okay.
I was that kid that had to be social. I was that social butterfly. I've always been that social butterfly. I wanted to be where everybody else was. I wanted to be wherever the action was I wanted to be. And my parents were older, so I think when I got to teenage years, my mother was almost my age, almost 50. So I was just that kid. They go to bed, I'm out the window.
What type of support system did you have as a youngster?
In terms of having both parents in the house, I did that. We had both parents in the house. My parents were, of course, another generation, so they never embraced. My dad was hearing impaired, so I can't say he didn't. He was just hearing impaired. But my mother never embraced the artist side of me. She loved me dearly, providing everything. But she wanted doctors and lawyers and at least the teachers, what she would say. But I was none of that. I wanted to be everything else but that. You know, anything art is what I wanted to do. So that side of me was never nourished or embraced. So I kind of was like a penny in the ocean with that.
Were you able to express yourself in that way in school or in community activities, or did you just stick by the book when it comes to that?
I don't know what I did. I did write for our newspaper at Ben Davis High School, Creative Writer Speech. Did very well with that. And it's ironic that I have pseudotumor cerebri, which I speak with a slur. I perfected it so you can't really tell. But this side of my face is numb. This side of my tongue is numb. So I'm going to have a shooting pain in it. But through poetry and spoken word and speech classes, I've learned how to perfect it so you can't really tell, unless the pain is bearing down, you know. But as far as doing it, I was probably in my 30s when I got to do it freely.
Okay, when you got to do it freely.
Yeah.
And so as you were going through life, knowing you were more of a creative, did you know young what you wanted to do when you got older? You know how we had those ideas of, I'm going to be this, I'm going to be that. Were you one of those?
Yeah, my mother shot that down real quick. I wanted to graduate from high school. I wanted to go to New York. I wanted to be a makeup artist. That's before Atlanta and LA got off onto the start. It was New York. And I wanted to be a makeup artist. It came natural to me, you know, and no. My mother said, no, not how you going to college.
Yeah.
So I went to college for 2 years, and it just wasn't for me. And I came home pregnant. I didn't come home with a book. I came home pregnant.
You came home with a baby.
I came home with a baby. And
Okay.
and I had, by the time I was 25, I had all 4 of them. And I think I did everything backwards. You know, 4 kids out of wedlock. I think my parents said no. I said yes. They said yes. I didn't want to do it. I mean, they go to bed. I'm out the window.
Wow. Okay.
I was rough. I mean, but I wasn't rough. It's just that I just felt strangled.
Okay.
I just felt suffocated. You know, my sisters are very, very educated. They're both doctors, and they were by the book. You know, and I just was not. If there was something on page 22, it's probably a baby. I have a felon that got a misdemeanor. I've done all of that. You know, but I think all of that brought me to where I am today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All my mistakes.
Yeah. I think sometimes we look at our past and experiences that we had like mistakes, but actually they help mold us to be who we are today.
I think that when you make those mistakes, I know for me, it allowed me to have empathy in so many different areas of life. And I think for me, I think empathy can only, true empathy, genuine empathy, can only come when you have a relatable experience.
Yes. Yes.
Sympathy, you can always have sympathy. Oh, my condolences, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But for me, I have a son that's in active addiction. Somebody that has no experience with active addiction cannot begin to empathize with it. And my issue is my son. So somebody may say, well, I know what you're going through because my husband. I know what you're going through because of my sister, my brother. There's similarities there.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's anything more hurtful than a child that you gave birth to.
Yeah.
And you can't save them. You can't help them. You can't hold them to protect them. I think, but again, they have some empathy. But I can only really relate to a mother that's gone through it or that's in it, that can even begin to understand my language of wanting to save my child, but not knowing where to draw the line. You know, they say let go and let God. And I got so sick of hearing that. Even though I love the Word of God, I got so sick of hearing let go and let God. Just because I'm crying and I want to go help my son doesn't mean I didn't let go and let God.
Right.
I'm the mother.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but when your son is at home and in bed doing what he's supposed to do, or at work, or maybe at a girlfriend's house, friend's house, aunt's house, maybe in school, whatever that is, he's not out there and it's 3 degrees.
Yeah.
You know, my son is out there and it's 3 degrees.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's living in debt. I don't know if he's living or dead. So there were weeks of not knowing.
Yeah.
I lived my life by a cell phone bill for, almost 9 years now. I paid the cell phone bill faithfully. If it rang, I knew he was alive because he had to get somewhere to charge it. If it went to voicemail for any period of time, Ryan, I went nuts. You know, and it has such a control over me, you know, because it's my child. You know, and it's a beat down, and people will say, I think one of the things that hurt me the most, that also angered me the most, I don't know, there may be equal feelings, but is when somebody said, well, you need to be grateful because somebody else's child is dead. I understood the intent, because I am grateful that presumably my son was alive, but that's not my battle.
Right.
Her child dying is her battle.
Right.
It's not mine. My
so
battle.
Don't belittle my pain.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, because if I wanted to be nasty, I could say at least you know where her son is tonight.
Right.
I didn't say that because I don't want to imagine what it feels like to bury a child.
Right.
Because it's unimaginable pain when you don't know if they're living or dead.
Right.
You know, so I think that we get into a habit of trying to diminish pain with an intent of trying to make somebody feel better.
Right.
But it doesn't help.
Yeah.
You know, it does not help. I'm sorry, y'all. It does not help.
Yeah.
You know, but
our way of grief, whatever it is, whatever we're grieving, whether the relationship is a person that is passed or we lost them to life. Yeah. And I say that all the time. If they're still grieving.
Losing a job is grieving.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
There's so many different areas to grieve. But at the end of the day, nobody can help you grieve.
Yeah.
You know, if anything, they can piss you off.
Yeah.
In the process of grieving unintentionally.
Right, with their insensitivity.
Right. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because an insensitivity comes again from lack of empathy.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times people do that because they just don't understand. And so if you don't understand, you can't really put your mouth on it. You can just be kind and say, I'm wishing you the best. I'm praying for you if you're really doing that. What can I do to help? Yeah.
You know, and oftentimes some people just want to cry.
Yeah.
They don't, I know you can't fix it.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I want to cry. I'm very fortunate to have a good circle around me.
Mm-hmm.
But even with that, I still go to God first. I've learned that because God never sighs when you're talking to him. Here we go again.
Right.
You don't get that from God.
Right.
There's no voicemail. There's no constant ringing of the phone. The signal doesn't drop. And I'm not saying that's what people do, but I'm just saying when God, he's always right there.
Yeah.
And it is something, and I used to think it was so cliche, so old lady. I'm that old lady now. There is something so powerful about the name Jesus. Whether you're screaming it, whether you're sobbing in it, whether you're crying through it, it's something about the name Jesus that just, it doesn't change the situation. I think it just changes who you are and who you rely on in a situation. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I've grown that.
Yeah.
Growing in that relationship with Christ.
I've watched you over the years. I know we met probably in 2015, 2016.
Yeah.
It's been some years now. And you are such, first of all, a queen, a person. And what I mean by that is, a queen, it's easy to call someone a queen, but when I call you a queen, it's because I see a certain level of just wearing so many hats and doing it well. I've seen you do poetry. I've seen you act. Now you create jewelry. I mean, how do you do all this?
Well, first, I think we need to define what the word queen is. Queen is never anybody that sits on a throne or an entitled person. A queen is somebody that serves. You know, a true queen serves. A true king serves. But all of my identities or my roles come from a place of hurt. It comes from a place of depression. For instance, Hattie Mae, when I lost my teeth, I thought it was the end of the world. Oh, God, I thought it was the end of the world.
And when did that happen?
2010.
Okay.
And for a long while, I couldn't look at myself in the mirror because when I did, I was 43, I think. Yeah, about 43, 42, something like that. When I looked in the mirror, I seen this woman that was in her 70s. You know, and it was just so devastating at 40-something, you know, because everything collapses, you know, and I would wash my face, but not look at myself in the mirror. I always go in the eye and make sure they were clean or whatever, but I could never look at myself in the mirror because I looked like my grandmother. I would look like a grandmother, you know. I was a grandmother, but I looked like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And,
older than what you wanted to appear at the time.
At the time, 20 years older, and it was definitely devastating. And again, people say, girl, it's just your teeth. Somebody else lost their breath. Somebody else, okay, well, I still got both of mine. That ain't the issue.
Right.
But everything that I did at that time, I was a union steward at AT&T. I worked for the telecommunications giant of America, which was AT&T. I'm a poet that was reaching the top of her game at that point. Everything that I did was around my mouth. Everything.
Yeah.
And I just went into a place of darkness with it, you know. And of course it's colder now, but back then it was H1N1, I think it was. And I used to run and rob Methodists, and I don't think it was Eskenazi then, it might have been Wishart, I don't know what it was at the time. Any hospital that had an emergency room, I'm coming to get their mask because I wanted to cover my mouth. And because it was vanity, you know, of course it was vanity, and it's hard to be younger and dangerous, you know what I mean? So that's where Hattie Mae comes from.
Now, when did you say, okay, not only did I lose my teeth and I have to deal with that, but now I've accepted this, right? And so I'm going to make a character out of this. Like, what was that defining moment for you?
My granddaughters. I don't think my granddaughters ever seen me without teeth at that time. And they came through the door, and I didn't have my teeth on. And they said, where's my grandma? Literally, they didn't know I was the same person. And so, she's in the room. So they went into the room to try to find the grandma. And they went in there. When they came back, had my teeth in. They said, Grandma, where's the lady? And I had them going back and forth to these rooms. And my granddaughter, Cameron, she said, you look like Hattie Mae. And it just stuck. You know, and it made me laugh. I said, who the hell is Hattie Mae? You know? And it just stuck. And when I was around her, I would always play this old lady. And it's amazing what you can do with your face and your mouth when you don't have teeth and bone structure, you know. And that's where it came from. And then when I was making these faces, now I'm looking in the mirror because I was avoiding the mirror, you know, or just long enough to wash my face, you know, whatever. And then I started to embrace it. And then I became okay with it. And then I realized with the pain that I had in my gums that it wasn't what God did to me, it's what he did for me. And when I grasped that, it didn't come overnight now.
Okay.
I didn't go out in public overnight.
Okay.
And I still have moments with it. I'm not going to say that I'm okay with it now. I'm okay with it now. I'm not saying that it's because I've accepted it. It makes it easy to move forward.
Okay.
Am I going to purposely leave home without my teeth? Absolutely not.
Okay.
But if I left home, I'm not going back to get them.
Okay.
Put it that way.
Okay.
So I think we put more focus on our disabilities than what people do.
Okay.
You know, nobody cared. Nobody really gave us, you know, I cuss, I'm sorry. Nobody really cared. I cared more. I brought more attention to it. And again, the enemy, and I'm back to adversity. Adversity is our invitation to Christ. It's never meant to destroy you. We allow it to destroy us. You know what I'm saying? So over time, Hattie Mae just grew. She's very, very known in this city, in other places. But I never quite took off with it because I still had this strong hold on my life, and it was my mom. Even at 50, you know, my mother still has. I wanted my mother to be so proud of me. I graduated from high school. You know, I went to college for 2 years. I've done some great things, but I never got the approval that I was looking for. And
I understand.
I've had shows with standing ovations. I've done shows with Marvin Sapp and Donnie McClurkin, Smokey Norfolk, Open Up for Poetry, a lot of things. But the one person that was never in the audience for me was my mom. Siblings, cousins, friends, strangers. I had people, even a show here in Indianapolis, they would come from as far as, I had a whole busload of ladies come from Cincinnati and Kentucky just to come see Hypnotic. You know, come see me, wow. But in the audience, all I cared about was Barbara Stewart. That's what I needed there, but never. My mother heard me speak 2 times, and it was at 2 funerals. You know, and it was hurtful. It was, and then that's where the humor comes from. My humor covers my hurt. It protects me from hurting, you know. I made everything funny because everything hurted. You know what I mean? Are you crying?
No, I'm okay. I'm fine.
I made everything funny, even when things wasn't funny, because I was just this kid that had so much, and I would so relate to Michael Jackson. I so relate to him because you got all this inside of you that you need to get out, all this art, all of this stuff, and you want your parents to be proud of you.
Yeah.
You know, nobody else freaking mattered, just mom, you know.
Yeah.
And, but my mother was great in so many areas, but I also had to realize my mother didn't have a mother. My mother was born in the South, so education was her way out.
Yeah. So,
of course, she wanted her daughters to be great. She wanted them to be doctors. My mother was very medical. Went through nursing school, valedictorian of her high school. But my grandmother, I've never met her. Of course, my grandmother died, my mother was 8. So she never had that nourishing touch. So we didn't get it either. But my sisters, I think they got a little bit more than I did because they went into the medical.
Right.
You know.
They followed in line.
They followed the grain. I did. I was just so, I mean, I cared, but I knew what I wanted to be, but I just never, when I met Russell Simmons in 1996, there was no great female comedian. There wasn't a Monica nobody then. And they wanted me to sign me to a road show. Got it. Run home, tell my mom, you got kids. Who gonna keep them kids? What kind of mother leave her kids? Shot in the foot. I didn't want to disappoint her again. Ultimately, I disappointed her not because I just quit school and me go back. When I got in trouble with the law, I got in trouble. I used a credit card that wasn't mine. No major crime, but I still. My friends had a credit card. Well, shit, I'm going to use it. You know, dumb, but still. So I didn't do any a big crime, but it was still enough. And then my name was on TV.
Right.
It was so I think it just hurt her that one of her daughters did this. You know. But anyway, I never felt that I got back in her good graces after I got into trouble. My mother was always about image and persona. You know, we was probably one of the first black family, if not the first black family, on Kessler Boulevard in the 70s. So my mother always carried that Kessler Boulevard status. You know what I mean? I didn't care about I could be in a hood. I'm just that type of kid.
Right.
And but she's always had this status of being better because of where she came from in the South. And I just didn't fit the mold, you know. And so as I began to, in 2003, I believe, or 4, before Jill Scott became Jill Scott, there was a listening party in Philly. And I was accepted as one of the writers. Here we go again. I didn't do it. My mother just would not take her hands from my neck with it, you know. And nor did I have the courage to remove her hands, because at this point I'm real grown, you know. And the last stitch for me was in 2004, Luda released Red Light District CD. And I went to the CNN Omni stand ovation performance. They brought me back on the stage twice. Went back to his home in College Park, and he asked me about his sister label. Yes, I'm going to leave SBC, which was Ameritech at the time. I'm going to leave SBC, connect with Bell South, keep my job. I can work in the studio on the side. My kid's dad said, go, I'll take care of the kids, you just go and help me, you know, whatever. And I went and had this talk with my mother, off my head again. And I just never got past disappointing her. She never stopped reminding me, even in a photo album my mother had a copy. I had never seen it, but my daughter said that my mother had everybody's degree copy of it, and there was a blank page. And she used to tell my daughter, that's my page. There's nothing in it, you know. So when I found out about that, that just really hurt me. So it wasn't until, it's going to sound really messed up to you and to your audience or whatever, but I didn't want to start succeeding until my mother died. And that is a hurtful, that makes me want to cry, because it wasn't until my mother died that I wanted to be my best. I wanted to be my greatest,
your
you know.
full self.
Yeah, I wanted to be, I didn't have no more barriers. You know, there was no more fences to climb, no more hurdles. And I sat at the table, and my mother passed. Let me go back. I got fired from a job. First time I ever got fired from a job, and I just was not focused. I just could not grasp, because my mind was, my mother was dying. I had a son in active addiction. I had Ger's disease, fighting a tumor, just a lot of stuff. So I just couldn't grasp. But I think I was also trying to make a shoe fit that didn't fit, you know. Yeah. So in February when they fired me, I had never been fired. So I just said, oh my God, it's the end of the road, you know. So Michael, which is my male friend, I'm too old for a boyfriend.
Okay.
I'm a half 100. I'm a half 100. He told me to stay out the rest of the year, don't worry about going to work, spend the rest of the time with my mom. So I was grateful for that. I did that. But I was sitting at the table, and I was I always made clay earrings. And I was making clay earrings, and I heard Joel Osteen on TV, and he was saying that we're the clay and he's the potter, and they were wonderfully and beautifully made. And everything that he was doing, I was molding the clay. I was pressing. I was going through. I went to the oven. The earring comes out solid. So at that point, in 2018, I gave birth to Clay to Conquer, which is my ministry. And that everything that happens to us happens for a reason. Yeah. And that God blends and molds our colors, because you got to press. You know, you got to mold it. You got to go to that oven, and the oven is the hardest place to be, because there's no out. Lord, it's 230, 300 degrees in here. It's no, everything is just coming at you. But you can't come out of this situation until the door opens. You know what I mean? But that's when you're solid. You know, and all the colors just come together beautifully, you know. All the colors that didn't make sense before, all of a sudden they make sense. You know what I mean? And so that's where the ministry comes from.
Wow.
Everything for me comes from a place of hurt. The earrings, a place of hurt. You know, it's a dark place. I was only able to go to do the earrings when I was crying, when I was hurting about something. Otherwise, I was just, I don't do this, you know. Yeah. But if I'm crying, I can stay in this place, this be still place. When God tells us to be still, I had a be still place. It was my altar. I was able to function in this space, you know, and in this space, I may crank out 18 pair of earrings without realizing, but I lose myself in that space, because I didn't have to think about nothing else, you know, and that's when God talks to me.
Now, as far as Hattie Mae and Hypnotic, because they're two different individuals. Do you plan to ever go back to those characters?
After I brought them together, it's called the H&H experience.
Okay.
Hattie she's a cusser, but so is Hypnotic, but so is Teresa. Mm-hmm. But Hattie is that old auntie that you can bank on what she says, but you got to have the stomach to tolerate her. You know what I mean? And Hattie has these two Bibles. There's a King James, and there's a King Jimmy.
Okay.
Hattie likes King Jimmy.
Okay.
Because, as an example, King James may say, "Thou shalt not kill," but King Jimmy say, "Beat that ass." And so I think that we live more in King Jimmy in reality, but King James kind of gets us where we need to be to meet Christ that day. You know, does that make sense?
Yeah.
But sometimes the "thou" and the "thee" from James become very heavy when you're hurting, you know. And I learned, and I adopted the King James and King Jimmy through Hattie Mae when my child was molested, you know, because the world wanted me to react. Girl, you ain't shot him.
Right.
Girl, how come you ain't killed him? How come you ain't hurt nobody, you know? But the Word of God teaches the Word of God teaches us how to behave. And God says, "Vengeance is mine." I'm like, okay, God, wait a minute, hold on. You're a little slow. Okay, I know you got it, but
I need you to pull up.
come on.
Because if not,
this nigga done.
I'm pulling up.
Mess with my child, you know. And so, but then you learn a different level of forgiveness. Have I totally forgiven the person that molested my child? That's an ongoing process. It is a forever process, you know. So I'm learning how to forgive through that process. But have I picked up the phone to say, "Hey, how you doing?" Absolutely not. In fact, I seen riding down the street after it rained. And I should be shot for saying this. But anyway, I tried to run over with a puddle of water. I'm going to baptize him. Somebody missed the boat. I'm going to help him, you know. But only after I did, I didn't feel good about it, you know, because I am a child of God. And when you really try to walk in that, revenge is not the answer.
Right.
But I didn't get to press charges because my daughter was already 18 when she told me. So then it became her charges to press. Had she been 17 years, 11 months, 29 days, 59 minutes, whatever that math is, he would have been gone. But I didn't have that. You know, it was in her control. And so I think for me, Ryan, all of my gifts come from a dark place.
Yeah. Yeah,
all of them. But what I realized in that dark place, that the God that I serve is so much greater than that space. You know what I mean? And the creation inside of me is so much greater than that place. And shout out to Rashonda Rashonda Carpenter now, I'm sorry. Rashonda said something, we was at church, and she said that the moment that God interrupts, or the moment the devil comes to disrupt, God interrupts. And I thought about that, you know, it goes back to who do you give the power to?
Right.
Because an interruption and a disruption looks like the same. But who do you give the power to? Because God can close a door because it's something that you're not meant to experience. But the devil tries to keep the same door open because he wants the same experience that would traumatize you to do exactly that, to traumatize, to keep you from going on to be something better. So it's about who do you give the green light to?
Right.
You know, so God comes to interrupt. So everything I've learned to talk to myself, I've learned how to talk with myself. There's Ed, there's ED, and then there's the ING. And Ed means, you know, something in the past. I try not to speak with Ed, with EDs, unless I'm intentionally trying to close a chapter, but I don't want to block a blessing.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
But ING means in the game. I'm still in the game. So if I am diagnosed, I don't survive a diagnosis. I conquer it. If it ain't nothing but here. And it's here. We conquer.
Right.
So the Bougee Bride, I have 352 members in Bougee Brides now.
Oh.
Shout out to them if they're watching. When I'm with the Bougee Brides and we're live or doing whatever we're doing, I tell them, you're not surviving. We're going to conquer this. And true enough, you know, cancer may eventually, you may succumb. The flesh succumbs to it, but not the spirit.
Right.
You know, the spirit is gone. And yeah, it's tough. You know, I had one of my club members, one of my sisters, whatever we call ourselves, is hospice. And is hospice the word, ED?
I don't know.
Hospice, present tense, okay.
Okay.
Well, and that's where she's at. And she asked me when I come visit her, and it's just a few days ago, and if I tear up, I'm sorry. Went over there, and she's already thin, but she's very frail. You know, you're looking at her, you can tell she's at the end of life at some in the near future. But God still has the final word, you know, for the moment. But anyway, she was very weak, she kept telling me to move her scarf. So I took it off. She had this little dangle of hair, just one little dangle of hair. And so she told me Mom would get the brush. So I got the brush, and she wanted me to brush. And I brushed it, and it just took the rest of the hair out. It was gone. And she kept on like this. Well, when she called me, she told me to bring her a pair of earrings. Mm-hmm. So she did like this. I said, "You want the earrings on?" And she said, she nodded her head, yeah. So I put her earrings on, and I was so scared I was going to hurt her. Mm-hmm. She said, "I ain't dead yet." Mm-hmm. So I put the earrings in her ear, and she said, "I want you." Oh, right. It meant the world to me.
Yeah. Because
it's not the earring. Mm-hmm. I think God has something greater on it. Yeah. I think Bougee is a movement. Mm-hmm. Girl, I'm about to cry. It's a movement. I thought it was a brand. Mm-hmm. I think that it's a movement because I embrace so many different things. I don't care if you're 300 pounds. I've been that. Mm-hmm. I don't care if you're diagnosed. I'm that. Mm-hmm. I don't care if you've been at the top of your game. I've been that. I don't care if you've been at the bottom. I've been that. I've been so many different things in my life. I've been great. I've been not so great. You know, I've been evicted. Mm-hmm. I've been convicted. I have been pushed aside. I have been all these different things. And when I'm live, when I'm live, and I sell 40 earrings in an hour, it's great. Mm-hmm. But what people don't realize is that I didn't order this off the internet and just open up a package and show it. Mm-hmm. I handmade these on the floor at 50, diagnosed, can't see nothing. I don't got no preview. I don't even see you right now. I have nothing. And that is something great about it, you know. And Bougee, meaning the letters, beautiful, outstanding, undeniable, graceful, energized, and eclectic. Every day it is your responsibility to hold on to grace, the G. Hold on to the G. At minimum. At best, you got all your letters together. But at minimum, hold on to your G. And then if you're not bedridden, I don't care anything else, if you're not bedridden, depression and illness and adversity wants you to lay there in the bed and have life just sucked out of you. You don't even see the sunshine, you know what I mean? But if you get up, take your time getting up and just sit on the side of the bed, I guarantee you're going to go to the bathroom. You know, when you get to the bathroom, when you empty your bladder, you're going to want something to drink. You're going to get out of the room, you got to go to the kitchen. On your way to the kitchen, open up a blind. You know, there's so many different things that we can do to help ourselves, you know, because you can't lay down on adversity because it will condition you to give up. You know, I battle every day with some type of pain, whether it be my face, pressure behind my eyes. There are times I try to pick up something that go right through my hands. When I'm on live, I see I'm all thumbs because my hands are numb. So I pick up an earring, it just goes right through my hands. But that's where I'm at. I'm going to deal with it. You know, I'm not going to.
Hold that thought. Mm-hmm. I want to make sure we are still going. We are. Awesome.
You know, but the biggest thing that I think I've ever done with the Bougee movement is to remain transparent. Mm-hmm. You know, as Black women, we try to be strong. Mm-hmm. You probably can go for that. You understand that we try to be strong in so many areas, and to be strong all the time is not okay. Right. It is not okay. Yeah. It's not okay.
Sometimes you got to feel what you feel.
Yeah, feel what you feel.
So you can get through it.
And it's okay to feel what you feel. Yeah. And it's okay to say, I learned that saying yes all the time did make me a better person. Yes. And saying no sometimes did make me a bad person. Yeah. And but through being transparent, I realized that's where the servitude is. And when you can help somebody else in your own pain, it's God's strategic way of taking your pain away from you for the moment. Because then I can go focus on somebody else. Mm-hmm. I'm not glad that they're going through. But in that moment, it made me forget that I'm going through. You know, when I get back home, I pick it up, you know, whatever. But The Bougee Bride is definitely a movement and not a brand.
So tell us about your earrings, how you create them, and where people can find them.
Wow. You know, Ryan, I can be completely, I'm nowhere near what I should be. Because so many obstacles, so many, me letting things get in the way. I'm not where I need to be. However, I have sold countable, just about almost 18,500 pair of earrings in 3 years. That's the ones I got pictures of. The earrings are, again, made from a dark place. When I was losing my boutique, I used to have a boutique 10 years ago where I commercial about everything going to the different garment districts. And by God's grace, I would sell out all the time, great. When I found out my child was molested, went downhill instantly. So I couldn't get up out of the bed. If I got out of bed, I was going to kill him, you know. So I would medicate with Tylenol PM, probably the closest I've ever been to a drug addiction was Tylenol PM. I would take them at night to go to bed and get up in the morning, pop them again, you know. But as I was liquidating the shelving and everything, people would say, girl, you can go get a leather from Amber's downtown. Go get the beads from here. Go get, okay, I'm buying all this stuff. I have no idea what to do with it. I'm buying it because just moving on adrenaline, putting it in a box. So when I moved out of the shop and I moved into an apartment, because where I live was above the shop. And I said, what is this box? But it had feathers, beads, buttons, and all kind of stuff in it. And I was sitting there playing with it. And a girlfriend of mine, shout out to Kim Henry, I had a hoop. And I had wrapped yarn around it so many times. And she said, girl, you should be making jewelry. You know, my friend, I have another friend, Andrea McKeachin, long-term friend. I thought it was her vision. I thought it was her dream to make jewelry because she's great at it. And I realized it was mine, you know, and I started making, and no tutorials, no YouTubing, but I couldn't figure out how to make them hang from your ear. And just by the grace of God, my daughter took a jewelry class. She needed an elective at school, straight A student, but she needed an elective to graduate. So she took jewelry, and she said, Mom, I just need a jump ring. I said, well, what's that? So we went over to Michael's or Joann's, whatever we did, and she showed me that. First pair of earrings I made was a pair of Converse earrings. Piece of material, I glued it to the wood. It was ugly. And I put glitter all over it. It was a hot mess. And my daughter said, Mom, that looked like a kindergarten did that. Oh my God, right, it hurt my feelings so bad. It hurt me, but it made me start paying attention. Today, Converse earrings is a hit with the pearls. And I can't keep them in stock. So the same earring that was meant to destroy me, fast forward, the same earring that I sell out of. And the earrings just became my altar when I went to realize it's a gift, that God gives each one of us a gift, and we may not have the same gift, and we do have the same gift, we both have our own direction with it. That's when the gift had burden. Is when I realized that gift is supposed to make room for me.
Yeah.
And when I realized that gift makes room for you, it became burdensome. Because again, we're back to interrupt and disrupt. The devil wanted to be burdensome so that I didn't progress. You know what I mean? So it's just a lot of life lessons. And but the earrings have probably saved me. The women that I've met, both national and international, have spoken volumes to me in different areas of my life. I'm always giving shout outs. So shout out to Cheryl Lane and Guyanina. Both of them are in Texas. That just reached out to me virtually. You know, they knew what to say. You know, because as whatever their encounter was, they was familiar with what I was dealing with. Miss Corliss Maxey. These are women that genuinely love Teresa. They wear the Bougee Bride earrings, but they love me. You know, I can cry. I can not be okay. I don't have to be great. I don't have to be no roles to play. I ain't got to have no makeup on. I can be snotting it. I mean, it was just okay to be not okay. Yeah. So the earrings are just, it's a safe place for me.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story with me.
Thank you for having me, Lady Bub.
I know that it is a phenomenal one, and I wanted my audience and your audience to come together so that they could hear it, because I remember meeting you years ago, and I'm like, wow, that's talent. So many people get on stages and they talk. Not everyone is talented, and you are definitely that. And I appreciate you for coming on and having patience with me today.
We got this.
How do people find your products if they want to purchase your earrings?
Right now I'm on Facebook Live, so you can send me a friend request at Bougee Broad Stewart on Facebook. I also do other platforms like Discount Diva, Black Dollar, and also I can't even grab more than that because it's too much. You know, I'm in a process of having my website built. Been fortunate enough to launch Amazon International. They just had a date pushed back from March to the end of May. Okay. So the earrings are going to launch internationally. God is hell. Call me 317-760-9923. We can FaceTime. We can message. Was it Messenger Talk?
Yes.
All of that. I am your sister. We can talk about the earrings. I don't ever want to be. Of course, I want to grow, but I don't ever want to be where somebody can't reach me.
Right.
If that makes sense. And eventually, I know that some of that's going to change a little bit, but for right now, I want to be reachable. And when I can go into the store, just like before coming here, shout out to Candace Hill. I seen her in the post office, went to deliver some packages, and she said, "I know you." I said, "You do?" And she said, "You do the earrings, don't you?" And I said, "Yeah." She said, "Do you remember me from the she event?" And unfortunately, I didn't remember. You know, it's easy to remember the one me than for me to remember everybody. You know,
right.
But nonetheless, she bought some fragrance for me, so I create my own fragrances also. And she said, I love the fragrance. I love the earring. She said, "You're gifted. Keep going."
Yeah.
But she don't realize that in that moment, I'm still thinking about, am I meant for this? Am I cut for this? So God has subtle ways of reminding us, you know, through people that unlikely source. You know, He'll send confirmation through strangers. He'll send through your enemy. But do you have a relationship that's strong enough that you recognize His voice, you know, when He's talking to you? And but so many women have done that, and after doing the work for so many years, I now go everywhere, and I see the earrings everywhere. Then a lot of ears, you know, a lot of ears, and I'm grateful for that.
Well, I'm so happy, and I'm happy for you, your success, your story. You know, it's easy to be a victim, but you are definitely a victor. And I thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
And thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Thanks, everybody. Special love out to Raquel Johnson, Andrea Santana, Belinda Lilly, Michelle Howard, my children, ASM Consulting and life coaching. I got to get some structure. I got to get it together. But God bless, and don't let nobody tell you that you're not worth it. Not even your mama or your daddy. You're worth it. Your diagnosis does not remove your crown. It don't even shift it from your head. So no matter what you're going through, you are worthy of everything that you desire. And until you take your last breath, you are worth it. And then at that point, you're worthy for eternal life, so it doesn't end.